Hello, everybody, and welcome to HCAM Sports Talk Live. I am your host, Tom Nappy, HCAM News Director, and today I am joined on the show. We got Mike Terosian and Bob Hamilton. Guys, how are you?
Good afternoon, Tom.
And we also have the Hopkinton Hillers girls varsity soccer head coach Tom Skiba. Tom, how are you today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. It's a nice day out there, unlike yesterday. So you already had a couple games with the team, and it was a nice performance for the first home game this weekend. Can you talk about what it's been like at practices at the first couple of games with all these new rules in place? How has the adaptation of these COVID rules been?
Well, it's been interesting to say the least. We've been dealing with a lot of non-soccer related things, as well as making some changes to how we play the game. But all in all, the team has been absolutely fantastic. We started with all of the changes at the first day of tryouts and really ran through from that point to where we are today. We had one dry run with an intra-team scrimmage where we had some refs come in and give us some guidance. But along with that and all the help we've gotten from the athletic director's office, it's gone fairly smooth.
And we'll throw up some of those new rules on the screen for those that don't know. There's a whole lot of changes, including things such as no throw-ins, no corner kicks. They're trying to get pretty much any situation that involves a lot of players kind of in the same area out of the game. What's it been like for you as a coach to adopt to some of these new rules?
We've had to pay a lot of attention to detail going through it with the girls. I think we've spent a fair amount of time on what we need to do on the kick-ins, both attack and defense, and then same thing with the corner kick-ins. It's been a lot of time on tactics, a little bit of time just talking about the rule and why it's there, and it's there for everybody's safety, but more focused on how do we play under these circumstances.
So these are some of the game procedures. Each bench area must be set up at least 10 yards from midfield. No timeouts are allowed. How did you feel about that one? I know in field hockey, Coach Abate wasn't too happy about that.
Yeah, it's tough. Typically soccer's not played with a timeout, but in high school, it's nice having that timeout, especially in the last 10 minutes of a very close game. You can either give your players a little bit of guidance or give them a little bit of rest, or both. So losing that certainly takes a hit, but we have gotten to the quarter, so they do get a break in there versus other years.
And just continuing to run through these a little bit. So you got the 10-minute halftime, and now they're doing quarters, so you get a little break between there as well. It's almost like that break between quarters kind of substitutes the timeouts.
Yeah.
It does.
And then all substitutes checking into the game, they got to use hand sanitizer. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, so here we are. We're talking about the no more corner kicks and throw-ins and so forth. I understand the throw-in part with the hand touching the ball. All right, I get that. However, the corner kicks, and this is only because this was my first weekend of watching, basically it's like they turned it into an indirect kick, because all I saw was a little tap off to somebody 2 yards away, and then the ball's kicked in front of the net and everyone rushes the net. I understand the spirit of the rule. And is this still within the spirit of the rule, or is this like how to get around the rule? I don't know.
It's basically turned every corner kick into a short corner. So some teams try to play that like a short corner, but unfortunately, with the rule, they've taken away the element of surprise in the short corner. So you play the short corner, and you're typically going to have 2, if not 3 or 4 defenders within 10 yards of you bearing right down. So the rule, I think it's a difficult one in that regard, because you don't have a whole lot of options with the short corner, because it's become extremely predictable.
Right. And my other question to you is, when you set up your when you set up your lines, are you normally like a, a 4-3-3 guy, 3-3-4 guy? And if you are a certain type of lines, did the COVID rules make you change what you normally would do?
We are a standard 4-3-3 setup. So we do that with two holding midfielders, either of which have the ability to roam forward. The thing that we need to work on is playing more possession oriented in the box. The COVID rules really take away the ability to play crosses or to play a long diagonal ball from your backs. We still try to play that way, but without the ability to head the ball, it's extremely difficult to be successful with that style of play.
And I noticed, because I got to do both the girls and the boys games over the weekend, and I noticed how the girls had a lot more control of not going for headers compared to the boys. You saw the boys, every time they go up, you saw them like move their head away at the last minute and try to direct it with their body. Use your full mass to direct the ball. But you could tell that they want to put their head on it, and it must be killing the kids.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for the kids because that's what we've been training them to do for the last 10 years of their life. We are fortunate that playing Medway plays a possession style of soccer similar to us, where both teams are trying to play the ball on the ground. So fortunately, a lot of those situations didn't come up.
Right. Now, and I know the rule too on the, we still use the term throw-ins because it just makes it easier for us as announcers and former coaches and whatever, because we're trying to say, what new game do we call it, a COVID throw-in? So we just stuck with throw-in. But, you have to keep the ball on the ground. And even though sometimes you'll get a little bit of height, that whistle's blown right away. They do not want they want that ball touching the blades of grass all the time.
They do. Yeah, they do. I mean, I think the refs have been good in the first two games, as well as our scrimmage, about using common sense in terms of how they play the game, and they want us to coach the game in the same way, right? Use common sense in the spirit of the rules, and let's try to make it as enjoyable of an experience for everyone as we can under those guidelines.
Now, I did see my first slide tackle, and sure enough, the whistles, I never heard the whistles blow so loud for electronic whistles. The kid knew right off the bat, he stood right up and raised his hand and walked away. And it was a shame, but it was so exciting to see the game he played, because I want to, if I was to describe the game a little bit, I would call this more like 6th or 7th grade town soccer, because we back then we didn't teach a kid slide tackle it until they were traveling in the 8th grade.
Well, one of our announcers had a great word, futsal.
Futsal. Yeah, futsal rules. Correct.
Yeah, I mean, definitely on the restarts, right? They basically adapted a lot of futsal rules for the corner kicks and the throw-ins. That's basically what's occurring.
Right, and we'll throw some of these big modifications up once again, just for everybody to see. Violation to head the ball, it will result in an indirect free kick. Violation to place your hands on any part of the opposing team member's body, that will result in an indirect free kick. And also a violation to intentionally make body contact with an opposing team member's body. But you have to expect that there'll be some accidental contact just based on the nature of the sport. And then a violation to attempt to slide tackle as well. So those are some of the big modifications this year. So in the practices, did you notice that any of your players, they were going for the slide tackle or the header, and you had to say, no, you can't do that?
Occasionally, it hasn't been a real big issue. The one that's the most challenging, I think, for us is the shoulder-to-shoulder contact and the no hand contact. We coach the kids to, when they're playing defense, to mark touch tight. So, they're literally putting their hands out, trying to get touch tight with the opposing team to mark them closely. So that, and then the shoulder to shoulder, I mean, that's fundamentally the only way that a defender can win a ball once the other team has possession, is to do shoulder to shoulder contact. So it's put the defenders at a disadvantage.
So when these rules came out, how did you feel about them? Were you just like, all right, yeah, no problem, glad the kids get to play, or was there some discussion to do maybe what like field hockey did, as they cut down the amount of players on the field and made it 7 versus 7 rather than 11 versus 11 to kind of save some of these rule changes? Was there any talk about that in the soccer world?
I think when the rules came out first, we were all shocked by it, to be quite honest with you, because the kids have been playing in their clubs and their summer leagues for 6 to 8 weeks at that point. And there was no reported or no big issues reported in the press. So we were surprised that the restrictions became much tighter. And then we felt that in a number of them, we use the term, they jumped the shark, right? The old Happy Days term, with some of the rules that, we understand they don't want the contact, but these also happen to be several items that have been fairly controversial going back years, right? So head balls have always been a controversial topic, and that's one that gets put on the list with the for COVID. So, I mean, you take all of that. I mean, I think we talked about that for maybe half an hour, and we said, we get to play. So let's get over it and move on, and let's coach the kids within these guidelines, and let's have a fun and competitive experience.
Absolutely. It's so good to see the kids out there getting the chance to play, especially for the seniors. I just felt so bad for all the seniors that participate in spring sports that didn't get to play. Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is your second year with the Hillers girls. Could you talk a little bit about your background for those that don't know?
Yeah, so this is my second year as head coach. Prior to that, I was a JV coach for a year. My background in soccer is I've been in, beyond those 3 years, is I've been in Hopkinton youth soccer, coaching both indoor and outdoor from 5v5 all the way up to 11v11. I had played in high school and college. I played at UMass Amherst. I was a 4-year player there, team captain, team MVP my senior year. And got to a point where my kids are getting older. I had a little more time to get more serious and more involved in coaching. And there was an opening literally at the 11th hour for the JV role. And, I put my hat in the ring, and it was the only hat in the ring. So I was fortunate to get that one, and, made a commitment to it. And here we are today.
So how you doing with your assistants? Would you expect to, are you down assistants? Because normally some teams have the volunteer assistants, and volunteer assistants aren't allowed this year.
Yeah, we're out. We had a couple of folks help out last year. We had folks helping out with set plays last year. We had some help out with yoga for recovery days, and we also use some strength and conditioning coaches, predominantly for injury prevention. So all of those things have been taken off the table this year, but we were able to add a full-time assistant, and we're lucky to have a great guy who's got a good coaching background, and Coach Taylor, who works in the school system, and it's been a great relationship so far, and it's really helped out with getting the kids up to speed and just helping with the overall supervision, because I try to we both have to still play a zone defense against the 23 players on the roster,
Sure,
but it's a lot
sure.
easier with 2 coaches than it is with 1.
Right. And I'm glad to see when I saw our athletic director, Rich Cormier, go to the school committee and ask for that paid assistant for all the teams. And, how he was able to emphasize that with the volunteers, the volunteers are volunteers. Some days they're there, some days they can't be. But this way here, by getting you a paid assistant, that means you are guaranteed to have that assistant every day that you needed them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was something that we had talked about probably when I was a JV coach, we had talked about it really be great to have a paid assistant at the varsity level even back then, so that you can specialize in certain areas and just put more into it, and the kids would get more out of it.
That's
Coach,
awesome.
Coach, you had a nice opening weekend this weekend against a good Medway team. It was 0-0 tie to start off the season, then a 1-0 win over in Medway. Can you tell us about this group so far and uh, the performance against Medway? It seems like you got a very strong team this year.
Yeah, it's been great to see. We came into the year, we had quite a few question marks. We lost, I believe the count was we lost 12 seniors to graduation. But the kids that were returning players and the new players to the team, they put a ton of work into their individual play, as their technical skills, their conditioning. And I tell you, the quality of the players that came to the tryouts was absolutely fantastic, and allowed, once we got through the tryout process, really allowed us to coach on bringing the team together and playing as a team versus shoring up their fitness or shoring up their technical skills.
Yeah, even watching the JV team, it seems like there's some good up and coming talent on there as well.
Yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you got a number of seniors this year, including Kristen McCluskey, who did some great goaltending this weekend. Can you talk about her performance in that?
Yeah, just rock star performance from Kristen, right? Just absolutely fearless coming off the line. She reads the play so well and reads the players. It goes back to, and we always knew she was good. It really crystallized last year when we were in a shutout against Nauset. I think she stopped 4, if not 5, of the PKs against Nauset. And her instincts to read players in that set situation as well as in the flow of play is really what differentiates her.
Well, I can tell you, Coach, this weekend she was a favorite of the 2 announcers that were calling that game.
Yeah, it was incredible. And the highlight clip, we use Huddle and it automatically creates highlights.
Yes.
I mean, there was, I think, 8 or 9 highlights from her that you would look at that and you're like, that's a career highlight reel, not a 1-game highlight reel.
Right. So big question for you. So the beginning of the season, of course, these lovely COVID rules, they said no to parents and spectators, and yet that changed. The TVL lighted up and allowed, or Hopkinton lighted up to allow spectators, and each player has 2 lanyards to give to their favorite fans, if you will, to come to the games. How do you think that affected the kids' play?
I think it was great. I think it's good for there to be fans there versus no fans there. So that was a huge bump and a lift to the kids. And that literally happened 3 or 4 days before the first game. It is always nice to have the competitors' fans there as well, because it adds to the atmosphere. And we're anxiously awaiting the day when that can happen as well.
Yeah. And it's always a great atmosphere, especially when you get 2 TVL opponents like Hopkinton and Medway meeting up. Since they're towns that are pretty close to each other, they usually get good turnouts at each school. So I noticed, one thing I noticed, or at least thought I noticed, there was a lot more substituting in these games, and it was almost like there was line changes like you'd see in an ice hockey game. Is that going to be one of the newer things this year? Those substitutions more often and substituting more players at once just to get everybody some playing time?
I think it's going to revolve. And I think first weekend of the year, coaches and players are still trying to find their rhythm. I know I am as a coach. I'm trying to figure out what the positional rotation should be in each area and getting the mix of players. And, we're going to get injuries and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping it looks like a normal year in terms of substitutions, but only time will tell.
Absolutely. We shall see. What are the practices like with the COVID restrictions? Do you have to limit how many players are in a group, or limit how many players are practicing at once, or anything like that?
Where we're down, we can only have 25 people on one side of the field, so that's 23 and the two coaches. Luckily, if we follow the COVID rules, namely the masks and maintaining the 6 feet of distance, etc., we do not need to split the team into two separate groups, which would be a huge challenge for training, because it would make it really hard to naturally develop player relationships, naturally develop plays, etc. We would really end up scripting stuff out that may or may not work, and it would really have an artificial feel to it if we were limited to 10 players in a group. It certainly works for some things like technical skills, but we spend 90% of our time teaching these kids how to play as a team, and it would we'd be at a huge disadvantage if we had to follow something like that.
And I know the team chemistry has always seemed very strong with this girls varsity soccer team. How's that team chemistry this year? And it seems like there's some really good leadership as well.
It's as good as ever. We have 3 great captains on the team. We have a huge group of juniors, and the younger players, the sophomores and the freshmen, have blended right into that. It's still early, and it still has a ways to go, but it's off to a great start developing that team chemistry. And having a weekend like we had against Medway, with 2 clean sheets and a victory, always helps build that.
And coming up this weekend, you got Holliston. Could you tell us anything that you know about Holliston? They're usually a pretty competitive program as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge challenge, right? They have a fantastic goalkeeper in Mary Kate. I believe she's committed to UConn. They've got a great forward up front, and a great midfielder as well. So they're strong right up the middle. Their coach always gets them ready for all of the games, all of the competition. So we'll have our work cut out for us, preparing for that game and being ready to go on Saturday morning. But we're looking forward to the challenge.
And I know so far you've only had one look at how this works, but pretty much the schedule layout, it's a game Saturday, a game Sunday, so back-to-back games. How do you think that's going to affect the team, if at all?
The biggest challenge is the recovery coming out of Saturday's game, going into Sunday, especially for the core group of players that we have that are going to get a lot of minutes. So, we focus a lot on doing our cool downs, make sure they're foam rolling, getting the right nutrition after the game on Saturday to get ready to go on Sunday. So we focus on that, and then we're very lucky that we're very deep as a team as well. So that gets to the substitutions and the rotations and finding our rhythm on that.
Well, speaking about getting ready, and one of the big questions that Bob just asked that wanted me to bring up was how was the players' physical condition leading into tryouts and up to now, since normally, they're at the gym, in the workout center every day or what have you. And with this whole COVID thing, have they been having touches at home in their yard? I mean, how were the kids in shape?
Yeah, I think they came in great shape. I would say both physically as well as their foot skills were better than we saw last year. One thing that we do as part of our conditioning test is the beep test. The highest that we had last year, we had four players hit 11 on the beep test. We had 5 or 6 players hit 13 on the beep test this year. And we graduated a group of some significant Division I collegiate athletes that have gone on. So that says a lot about the hard work and the dedication of this group coming in that kind of shape.
Well, Coach, it's great to see them back out there on the field. And although it's not the most convenient schedule, perhaps, it is fun having those weekends where you just have a whole slew of games back to back. And we're certainly enjoying the coverage. But thanks so much for coming on today and talking with us. And we'll certainly catch up with you throughout the season.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. And we'll see you guys on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Take care.
That was Hopkinton Hillers girls varsity head coach Tom Skiba. And they have started off the season with a nice 1 win, no losses, and 1 tie record. So, not that points matter, but if they did, it would be 3 points, which is always pretty great through 2 games. And a reminder, we have more sports coming up for you all weekend long right here on HCAM. They'll be airing on HCAM Ed as well as our YouTube page. On Saturday, October 17th, we start off the slate with a pair of Hillers boys soccer games. We have JV at 1 p.m. taking on Holliston, the varsity team at 3 p.m. against Holliston. And then 4 games on Sunday, October 18th at 11 a.m. Hillers JV girls soccer against Holliston. Then at 1 p.m., we got Hillers varsity girls soccer against Holliston. And then we follow up with a pair of field hockey games. At 3:30, Hillers varsity field hockey taking on Holliston, and then at 5:15, Hillers JV field hockey taking on Holliston. And just to note, the 3 p.m. Hillers boys varsity game on Saturday against Holliston is their senior game as well. So we'll be celebrating the seniors this weekend, and you can catch all the games on HCAM Ed as well as our YouTube page. Mike, it's exciting stuff, and I think our first weekend of coverage went really well for the most part. Everything streamed nicely, and
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a little problems with that connection and that little hotspot trouble. And then on Saturday we had the power outage. We had a brief power outage that killed things for a little bit, but I call it the first day jitters. Just like any other live event, we're always nervous getting our first game under our belt. But overall, it was great. Ourselves, it was a new process for us, being at one location all day long. Granted, we all got to take turns. We had some great camera operators. We had Eve, John, Zeke, Jackson. We had everybody coming in to help out. Steve Sweetapple, yourself, and myself. It was nice. It was nice again to be out there with the volunteers. That's
Right.
the whole time that we missed, and I think it was the first day was windy like you wouldn't believe. We had to actually anchor everything down. It was even blowing the table away.
Oh, very windy.
Then the second day it was gorgeous. I actually got a little sunburn on Sunday, and come the right as the last game started, the wind picked up as the sun went down, and the temperature, the normal 30-degree drop in 15 minutes. That's what happened for the second game. And, overall, it was just great to be back outside, great to see sports going. It's a great opportunity for us to connect the community to these games because, like we mentioned with the coach, only 2 fans per player are allowed to go to games. So it was nice, too, for the Medway fans where our channel streams in Medway on Verizon. So a lot of them got to watch us that way. Holliston will have the same opportunity to get to watch us. They're Verizon customers. But of course, everyone gets to see us on YouTube.
Right, and we had a good amount of viewers on YouTube, which was great to see. Glad people are tuning in, and we'll have a whole nother slate of games for you every weekend, pretty much for the next 6 weeks. We're gonna have, for the most part, 6 games. As you get a double dose of girls soccer, double dose of boys soccer, and a double dose of field hockey, as we're also covering the JV team this year, and we're also going to have cross country coverage coming up as well.
And we're still trying to figure out golf.
Yeah, they have their first meet this Saturday, so we're going to have some type of coverage of cross country. We are hoping to go live for that. We'll keep you informed, and also we're going to have some golf coverage coming up. We were actually going to go there and cover the golf match yesterday, but that was unfortunately rained out. So next week we'll have some golf coverage. It likely won't be live, but it'll be a video recap of how the meet went, some of the footage from it. So you'll get to see some good golf footage coming up, as well as we're trying to keep everybody locked into with what's going on with Hillers fall sports. And so far, the season has started off very nicely. But joining us,
Tom,
yes, Bob.
I wondered if you could, what's going to happen when the sundown is at 4:11. Are they going to have the lights on the field on the weekend?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, matter of fact, the lights came on for the second half of the boys' game on Sunday.
Yeah, and there is some games that are later in the evening too that are coming up. I think one of them has a 5:45 start, and there might be a couple night games too. And things move around a little bit, but don't worry, we'll keep you informed with what's going on. But those lights certainly in play, and I think we'll see them a good amount, especially when the clocks turn back. I wish they would get rid of that whole daylight savings thing.
That's on Halloween, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween.
The best within 2020, right? Uh, so we're supposed to have Ethan Winter from the Metrowest Daily News joining us as well. We're still waiting for him, but we're going to get into our football picks coming up, and we'll talk a little bit about the NFL action that is.
How'd we do last week?
We did pretty good. We did very good. I won. I went 12-2, so I got the bragging rights for the week. Yep. You went 11-3. And Jared went 11-3, so it was very competitive. Very competitive.
All right. Well, at least I'm still staying in the game here.
Right. One game difference, so you're right on the money.
Yeah.
Good God.
So, did that include your Patriots picks?
No. I took those out. That game got moved to this week, so we're gonna have to pick it again this week. And it does look like everybody's going to be ready to go. So you had here we go. We got Ethan Winter signing in. You did have the Bills Titans play last night. It was very weird to see NFL football on Tuesday, but I kind of liked it. But glad to see them back on the field. Ethan, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So glad you could make it. So you work for the Metrowest Daily News. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself for all the viewers out there?
Yeah, sure. So I've been with the Metrowest Daily News for the past 3 years. I'm doing my third year there. Before that, I worked in the Berkshires for the Berkshire Record, a weekly newspaper out there. And I was a graduate of Algonquin Regional High School, and so I'm back in the area. And I graduated from Algonquin in 2010.
So a lot easier knowing the teams that you were surrounded by growing up out of the Berkshires?
Oh, yes, definitely. Moving out to the Berkshires was definitely a new experience. The schools out there are a lot smaller than most of the schools out here. So it was kind of a new experience. And also in the Berkshires, Thanksgiving football isn't really a big thing. Right. So that was kind of a new experience for me as well.
Yeah, because those are mostly all regional schools out there, and 3, 4, 5, 6 towns.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what are some of the games that you've been covering lately? And you do a lot of great work for the Metrowest Daily News. Did you have a chance to check out any of the action so far this fall season?
Yeah, and it's been Tom, it's been great to be back on the sidelines of the games, high school games. I know we had a little bit of that over the summer with Legion, which was great. But last week I covered Wayland girls field hockey. Was supposed to cover Algonquin girls soccer last night against Westboro, but that got washed out, as many of the other games were as well around the area.
And what's your take on the new soccer rules? Obviously, it looks very different this season.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen a soccer game yet, so I haven't really seen how the rules have actually played out. But I know when I first learned of the new rules, I was like, what is this like? and talking to some of the other coaches in the area, they were kind of disappointed that their input wasn't really taken into consideration when these new rules were being in place. And I think in general, the MIAA has done a fairly good job in terms of handling the pandemic, handling it as best as they can. But where I think they really dropped the ball was with the new rules for soccer and field hockey, where they didn't really take it into consideration the coach's input, which I think um, was disappointing. But from what I've heard is that from other coaches since the games have been played, is that the new rules haven't really had a huge impact, which is good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looks a bit different, but I think uh, overall score wise, I mean, I'm sure it's had a little bit of an impact, but uh, it's still very entertaining to watch.
It is. You're right. It is entertaining, but you're also noticing. I'm just noticing because I just got to cover my first weekend, and the boys' game ran 2 hours.
Right.
It was whistle after whistle. I thought it was a field hockey. There's so many whistles, and it was. And of course, the refs trying to, adjust to the new rules as well. Um, and everyone's trying to play by the spirit of those rules. A lot of arguing, a lot of things going on the field. I mean, I even saw it in the refs, and I don't like to bad talk refs. That's the worst job. I never want to do that job, and I had to do that job before, and it was awful. But I tell you, the refs weren't even getting it right. One ref's up and the other ref's trying to tell him, put your arm down. It's a direct and
Well, they're still adjusting too.
yeah,
And
you're right. They're adjusting, but they were also doing things that had nothing to do with, putting your arm up for a direct kick. It's like hello. So, anyways, there was a lot of things going on, and so, but the boys' game, and I just edited it just to find out how much time it went. It went an hour 49 and of actual play time. So an hour 49 of play time compared to everybody else's games that ran an hour 15. And you could see the difference of what was going on. You could see, the holding back, especially for the boys, mostly at the varsity level, holding back. I did see a slide tackle that the kid knew after he did it that he shouldn't have. We did see the goalie. I can't remember the last time I saw a goalie get a red card. Goalie got a red card for a blatant handball outside the box. He was out there and he saw the thing going over his head and he just reached for it. I haven't seen one of that in the longest time. So boom, goalie's gone. He's screaming on the sidelines, and I get the Medway bench in front of us. And that's all I could hear was complaining that the coach finally had to scream at him, hey, stop it.
Of course, that's the one game I left for. You guys got the action pack.
We got the action one. Yeah, that was a great game. But, so you had, I mean, you can see the difference. Not so much in the girls, because girls are more, well, we all know they play smarter. Boys play harder.
What are you saying, Mike?
I coached girls for many, many years. Girls play a lot smarter than the boys do. Boys give it a little too much and try to get away with a lot more.
So Ethan, you mentioned you covered field hockey, if I'm correct, right? Over in Algonquin. What was the atmosphere like, and how'd you like the 7-on-7 field hockey?
Well, so I was in Wayland for that game. They were playing Concord Carlisle, and it was kind of a subdued atmosphere. I mean, you had the Wayland fans on one side behind the team benches, and then you had some Concord Carlisle fans on the other side, which was the side that I was on, because as a media member with the new COVID rules, we have to be on the opposite side of the benches, whereas before we could be kind of on that same side. But they broke the games up into quarters, which apparently that's how the U.S. Field Hockey Federation usually is they do 4 15-minute quarters.
And yeah, that's actually going to be a permanent thing now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Which I think it's a good move, because it kind of breaks up the game a little bit, where you'd have like a 30-minute half, and sometimes those, even though it's running time, those halves can sometimes feel like they're taking forever, just because of how many whistles there usually is in field hockey, as Mike mentioned. But it was really it was really interesting. Wayland, as you probably remember, last year had 3 boys on their team. They have 2 boys on their team this year, and you can, even though Wayland lost, the boys had a big impact. One of them scored the goal, the Wayland's only goal, but in as a result of that, I heard from a recent board of director meeting that the MIAA, along with pickleball, is brought up the possibility of adding boys field hockey, which I think if as long as if with more and more boys showing interest in wanting to play field hockey would make sense moving forward, because that added speed that the boys add does really make a difference when they're playing against girls, and you saw it on full display in that Wayland game against Concord Carlisle.
And I tell you, I forget about this whole COVID stuff, but here it is 2020. I'm surprised yet that we still don't have boys field hockey and boys volleyball in this TVL.
Well, yeah, the TVL, you don't have boys volleyball. I think 1 or 2 teams out of the TVL might.
There are 2 towns. There's
I think
I believe 2
Medfield and
towns.
Millis have
Millis.
boys volleyball.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do actually.
Yeah, I said there's a couple towns from the TVL that have it, but I thought for sure. I thought for
Yeah.
sure you'd see it by now.
It's all about interest. I don't think the other schools have gotten the interest.
Right. Well, we had a lot. What killed what I saw happening in the boys, because my son played in 8th grade volleyball, and you had to play on the girls' team. And they had the stud in Holliston. I can't remember his name. The guy crushed it. And after that, the TVL said, now the guys can't play up front. Boom. All the boys that were signed up stopped playing. And then you saw boys not playing anymore, so lost interest. And I saw that for a downfall. But here it is, 2020. I expected the way the TVL has been growing and the way these schools have been growing, I thought for sure that I'd see it by now. I mean, we got girls hockey. We
Right.
finally got ourselves a girls hockey team in Hopkinton.
Well, they should allow checking in boys field hockey. That'd be good.
Why not?
It'd be like a ice hockey game on the field. One of the things I noticed about field hockey in general, they're doing almost what you would equivalent to line changes in ice hockey. You'll see like 5 subbing out, 5 subbing in, and they're subbing a lot quicker. Did you happen to notice that, Ethan? I thought that was pretty interesting.
I didn't really notice it a whole lot, but I did see that they did do a few substitutions, and I think Wayland and Concord Carlisle did most of their changes after the quarters. That's when they did most of their line changes, but I didn't notice them do some more substitutions, but I don't think it really played that big of an impact.
Yeah, I think every team's going to have their different strategies. I think you're going to have some teams that are doing line changes as the game's going. You're going to have some teams that are subbing 1 or 2, and some maybe doing it at the quarters. But we're going to get into our NFL picks. We go through the NFL games, and we each pick a winner of that game. So, Ethan, today you're representing the Metrowest Daily News. So if you do a bad job, Tommy's going to be very mad at you.
Yeah.
So the records from last week, Jared from the Metrowest Daily News, he was 11-3, so he represented him well. Mike, you were 11-3. I was 12-2. So let's get into this week's picks. We picked well last week. Hopefully we could do it again. I think Bob's going to get in on the action too for picks. We got the Bears and the Panthers. These are 2 teams that are showing that they are pretty good. The Bears with an impressive win over the Bucks. That defense looks good. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers. Tough pick for me, but I'm going to go Bears. Ethan, who do you got in this one?
This is a tough game as well. I haven't seen a whole lot of either team. I know the Bears defense seems to be making a comeback, and Teddy Bridgewater for the Panthers has been keeping that offense pretty effective. But as they say, defense wins championships. So I'm going to go with the Bears.
All right.
Wow. Well, I was agreeing with you up until that point. I'm liking the Teddy Bridgewater, how he keeps winning. So I'm going Panthers.
All right, Bob, what about you?
I think everybody knows in a battle between a bear and a panther, the bear's going to win every time. So
Love
I'm
it.
picking the Bears.
Bears.
Love it. Great logic right there.
You just want to say the Bears.
The Bears and
Well,
my brats.
now you got the battle of the Bengals and the battle of the Colts. I gotta pick the Colts on this one, even though in the woods that might be a different story. Ethan, who do you got?
I mean, I like Joe Burrow, but he's got nothing really around him, so I'm going to go with the Colts.
All right, Mike.
Oh, yeah, the Colts. They lost last week to the Browns. So, yeah, I'm going Colts over Cincinnati. Yeah, Colts.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts too. I think that Indianapolis team is going to do a good job against that Ohio team that's across the river.
Right.
That's the river.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals are a little bit better than I expected, though. I really do like Joe Burrow, so it should be a decent matchup. Here's one that is, I guess, a little bit interesting. Lions and the Jaguars. This is a tough pick for me. Both of these
Oh,
teams.
you're
are
right.
so
A little
on
bit
and off.
interesting. That's it. Little.
Just a little tad interesting. The Lions had an impressive win in their last game. I just feel like the Jags are going downhill. I hate to do this, but I'm going to go Lions. Ethan, what do you think?
So I can see Tommy going with the Wizard of Oz. These Lions, Tigers, and Bears.
Oh my.
But and this last game isn't oh my because it's really a toss up, and I really don't know which way to go. But I'm gonna go with Gardner Mania with Gardner Minshew and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, I like it, Mike.
Well,
what you got?
Jaguars defense is having some major issues, but Jaguars will be able to move the ball. I think it's going to be a high-score game. Lions.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I go with Mike on this. I think the Lions are going to have a good game this week.
That'll be the one that Ethan gets over us, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Atlanta and Minnesota. I might not pick Atlanta all year. I'm going Minnesota. Minnesota actually looked really good for the first 3 quarters against Seattle last week and then fell on their face. I think they'll beat Atlanta. Ethan, who do you got in this one?
The Vikings have been pretty snake bitten this year so far in their slow start, but the Falcons, the Patriots ruined them after Super Bowl 53. So I'm going to go with Skol and the Vikings.
All right. Mike?
Well, Vikings at home. New coach for the Falcons. Vikings.
Bob?
This might be Bob's tie game right here.
Yeah. No, this isn't even a tie. No, the Vikings are going to win this game.
Vikings.
All right, here's a game that I'm surprised it's not Thursday night football. The Washington football team and the New York Giants. The Giants are just a mess. Washington's not much better, but I'll go Washington in this one. Ethan.
Go football team.
All right. Mike.
I don't know. Giants showed some life against Dallas. Go football team. It kills me to side with the Giants. It really does.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe you're better off watching rugby, but this, I'm going to pick Washington.
All right. Washington,
formerly known
across
as the Redskins.
All right. Giants are going to win that game now.
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, Lamar Jackson just being Lamar Jackson. I got to go Ravens in this one. Ethan, who do you got?
The NFC East is terrible. The NFC North has proven to be one of the better divisions this year. I'm going to go with Ravens.
All right, Mike.
Jackson's going to have a good day. Ravens defense will get the best of Philly. So, Ravens.
All right, and I have a feeling I know what Bob's going with.
Really? Tell me, and then I'll tell you you're wrong.
Ravens.
No, you're not wrong. That's who I'm going with, the Ravens.
Here's an interesting matchup. The Cleveland Browns, who have all of a sudden played some good football lately. Baker Mayfield, OBJ looking pretty good. Going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I hate to say it because I'm not a Steelers fan at all, but Big Ben and that offense is looking good. And I just picked up Claypool on one of my fantasy teams. I'm going to go Pittsburgh in this one. Ethan, who do you got?
I think the Browns are for real this year. The last year when everyone gave them the hype, I think was a poor decision because they had a really tough schedule to start the year, and they're finally putting things all together. But with that said, I think these two teams are going to split, and with the Steelers at home at the ketchup bottle, I'm going with Pittsburgh.
All right, this could be a tie game, I think. Pittsburgh usually has one
Eh,
each year. Mike, what do you think? And I do agree, Browns are for real this year.
yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think the Steelers, that they are at home. And I just looked it up. Browns have not won in Pittsburgh since 2003.
Wow, good stat there. So what does that mean?
I just said I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh because.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear your actual.
Oh my
pick.
goodness!
I thought you
And,
said they were going to break the cold streak.
all right, and I am going to predict this will be the game of the week.
I could see that. Bob, who do you got?
Well, I can understand why you're confused when Mike comes up with some logical answers, but I think that it's going to be. I'm picking Big Ben to throw 3 interceptions and throw the game away. So
Oh,
it's going to be the Steelers.
all right. So Steelers,
No, not the Steelers.
Oh, okay.
That's Cleveland.
Browns. That's what I thought. Because you said Big Ben going to throw 3 picks, but then you said Steelers.
And not the Steelers. That's right. He's going to give the game away.
All right. So Bob will win that one for sure. Texans and Titans. The Texans, I predicted them last week as they took on Jacksonville because they fired their head coach. And I just have this thing whenever a team gets a new coach or an interim coach, they come back and win. But I think last week is where it stops. I think the Titans take down the Texans this week. Ethan, who do you got?
I was really impressed by the way that the Titans played yesterday and how they beat down the Buffalo Bills so convincingly. And I think the Titans are going to be even better than what we originally expected of them this year. I'm going to go with the beatdown again for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, if the Titans play like they did last night every game, they're going right back to the AFC Championship. Mike, who do you have?
Well, how come you didn't pick the Ravens? I mean, the Atlanta, the Falcons. They got a new coach.
Oh, well.
Remember Minnesota?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah, this is Minnesota. I know.
they'll go up 27-0 and blow it.
Yeah.
Well, the Titans, it's going to be tough. I'm going with Titans. It's going to be tough because it is a short week, bro.
All right, Bob.
No, I'm going to pick the Texans because I think that the players are taking over. I think the players are going to want to show up again. So I'm picking the Texans.
Well, my fantasy team will like that since I have Deshaun Watson. So Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That Bucs team has a lot more work to do than I thought. The Packers are just playing too good right now. That Bucs team, too undisciplined. I'm going Green Bay on this one. Ethan, who do you got?
Bruce Arians is overrated as a head coach. Tom is getting dementia. Old age,
Wow.
CTE.
I think Gronk's worse off.
Yeah.
and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they've been playing really great football this year. The more disciplined team is going to win, and that's going to be the Packers.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, with your Packers, definitely. They're coming off their bye week, which is great. And Packers got to remain undefeated.
All right, the choice I look most forward to, Bob.
Yeah, no, I'm picking the Green Bay Packers, but it's only because Tampa Bay has that first-year quarterback that hasn't got his feet wet yet. So
You know, what was Brady thinking? He could have stayed on the Patriots and played a bunch of bums and Mahomes.
yeah,
Instead, he goes to the Bucs and he's playing against Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers,
Drew
Nick
Brees
Foles,
twice.
right?
Twice.
yeah.
You made your life a lot more difficult, Brady.
You know, with all those with having to face Rodgers and and Breeze twice this year, Tom is still the better quarterback out of all three of them, even in his advanced age.
Oh, I have to agree. Absolutely. I would take him back any day. As much as I'm loving Cam right now, besides
Yeah.
the fact he got COVID and missed a game, I would take Tom back. Rams and 49ers, the Sunday night game. This should be an interesting game, but the 49ers are very beat up. Jimmy G tried to play last week, didn't look very good. I don't think he'll be playing this week. I'm going Rams. Ethan.
The Niners, obviously, like you said, Tom, banged up. They didn't look good last week against the Dolphins, as the Dolphins of all teams.
Right. Dolphins crushed them
on the road. And the Rams are playing great football, so I'm going to go with the LA Rams.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, definitely the Rams. I mean,
Yeah.
49ers a mess. Rams went 4-0 the NFC East, which doesn't mean nothing because look at what the NFC East, it's a bad division. So yeah, Rams. Yeah.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I go with the Rams too. That LA is really a breeding ground for football stars out there.
All right. Love it. All right, the added game, Broncos Patriots. Cam's playing, so I'm going Patriots. Ethan.
As long as Cam plays, and even if he doesn't play and it's Jared Stidham behind center, I think the Patriots are going to beat the Broncos.
Yeah, I don't know about Stidham.
Yeah, Gilmore should be back too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike.
Well, I would still take Stidham over whoever the Broncos have behind center.
That you could argue. Yeah.
All right, Patriots, please.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I'm picking the Patriots. I know my sister and brother-in-law live out in Denver, and for some reason they think they have a football team out there, but I'm going to pick the Patriots to beat them.
All right, we got 3 more picks. Let's fly through these. Jets, Dolphins. I'm going Miami. Ethan, who do you got?
The Dolphins, the Jets have could go winless this year.
They very well could. They're horrible. Mike?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Bob, I'm guessing you're Miami?
Yeah, nothing makes me happier than to see the Jets crash and burn.
All right, we got 2 for Monday Night Football. We'll start off with Cardinals Cowboys. Andy Dalton starting for the Cowboys. I think that's going to hurt him. Although he's not bad, probably one of the better backups in the league. I'm still going to go Cardinals. Ethan.
I'm going Cardinals too. I think losing Dak Prescott changed everything for the Cowboys this year.
Mike.
I'm taking Murray in his offense. Cardinals.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I have to say the Cardinals too. Yeah, I think Dallas is just stumbling around.
And this game will take place at 5:00 Monday night. Chiefs Bills. Maybe it's the downfall of the Bills after that horrid performance last night. I'm going Chiefs. Ethan.
The Chiefs are favored 3.5, which in reality is more like 6.5 on neutral field. I'm going with Chiefs.
All right, Mike.
I'm only going with the Bills because you chose the Chiefs.
Okay.
I'm going with the Chiefs because he chose the Bills.
When I win next week, that's all I want to say. When I win.
If you win that one, you got bragging rights. Maybe
That's all I got.
Give you the title.
Because I did that out of fun, nothing else.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh boy. Well, it should be an interesting week of football for sure. And hopefully there'll be no more games moved and all the teams will be fine. But that is going to wrap up our show. Ethan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks,
and everybody,
See,
we'll have you back again. And everybody out there watching, thanks for joining us. And we'll catch you next week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. on an all new episode of HCAM Sports Talk Live. Have a good day, everybody.